Hey everyone, Graham from Boosted Performance here. Welcome to episode 2 of our GR Corolla series. Today I'm going to talk about getting our GR Corolla prepped for our first track event. That's going to be with Grid Life, which is a racing series we've been a part of for a long time now. We're going to be in the Club TR class with this car, which stands for Track Rat. The class is geared towards lightweight, really track-focused cars. BRZ, FRS, even K-swapped versions of those cars are kind of the top of that class. But they do allow small displacement turbo engines up to 1.6 liters, so the GR Corolla fits into that class. Now, it's not going to be as fast through the corners. It's going to take some development to be, as quick as those cars can be in the corners, and even then it's going to be a bit of a disadvantage. But the extra power from having boost will hopefully balance it out in that class, so we're going to give it a go with this car. But today I mostly want to talk about everything we've done with this car so far to prep it for the track, kind of show you guys some of those things that we've done. I know a lot of you guys are going to be taking these cars to the track, so I think this will be helpful for you guys to understand what we're doing and how it can benefit you at the track. So as we're setting this car up for the track, the big focus is improving temperatures as much as possible, and by that I mean reducing temperatures. So these next few modifications I'm going to explain are all to that effect. The eVenturi intake, as you guys saw in our eVenturi intake testing video, it does a really good job of grabbing all of the air from the front of the car. This red scoop down here kind of extends down into the grill and helps draw fresh air up to the cowl underneath this scoop. And the scoop itself is going to allow a lot of air to come in at higher speeds, pressurizing under the hood and going into the scoop. So when we've tested this car on the dyno and on the street, our intake temps are always the same as ambient. We never see higher intake temps like we did with the stock airbox for those reasons. So that's going to be a big benefit because that means the intercooler doesn't have to cool down the air as much if it's already coming in at the lowest possible temperature, which is the temperature around us. The most recent modification we did is the 6th Element Engineering front mount intercooler. They designed a really nice core. It fits into the stock location. It uses up every bit of extra real estate in there to give us the biggest core possible, but without blocking any of the existing airflow to the radiator or to anywhere else that it should be going. So it's a very nice piece. It fits very well, but it gives us a much bigger intercooler core, which is going to really help with the cooling capacity. So we're going to put that to the test at Mid-Ohio because that's going to be a track with a lot of straightaways, a lot of high speeds, and we're also going to be putting on the dyno and comparing it back to back with an identical car, identical mods, same time, same day, to compare the differences in temperatures and differences in power. So we'll share that video with you guys soon. The third thing we've done to help cooling is added an oil cooler. We found a good spot right here in the grill where there's a nice straight shot of airflow, and we found a Setrab core that can fit perfect, found a nice way to mount it, and we have that in there. Now, we've already 3D scanned everything inside the bumper, around the bumper, and we're going to be designing some ducting to go with it to really take advantage and channel that air through the core to make it work even more effective. And we can even grab some of this air up here in this upper duct that's not really used for anything right now. But at the moment, the core is in there, and in our road testing, it already is showing a huge improvement. So we're going to see how it does at the track without any ducting. We're going to add the ducting, see what the changes are, and then kind of finalize the kit from there. It uses a thermostatic sandwich plate on the oil cooler, so that makes sure that the oil comes up to temperature like you want it to, using the factory heat exchanger, and doesn't start cycling the oil through the cooler until it's at an appropriate temp. So while we're talking about oil, we did change out the factory oil from this car to Multol 300V. For HPDE, for just some casual track days, that's not super necessary in my opinion, but since we're going to take this car into time attack, we're really going to push it. I'm always happy to spend the extra money on a really good oil. So we went with the 300V. We've used this oil a lot in our other cars. It's pretty much our go-to for racing. Specifically, we did go up one weight in oil to a 0.30. We know Toyota recommends 0.20, and for a daily driver car, that's what we're going to run. That's what we recommend. For racing on the track, stepping up one oil weight, in our opinion, is definitely a smart decision. It's going to help prevent against shearing at really high oil temperatures. It's going to protect things a little bit better. It's not going to hurt the engine. You certainly wouldn't want to put a 40 or a 50 or anything like that in here, but going up one oil weight, the engine can definitely handle that in our opinion. So that's what we went with. Specifically, the newer formulation is the one you want to look for. It'll say LSPI. That stands for low speed pre-ignition. You want to make sure you have an oil like that with these direct injection engines so we don't have to deal with problems related to that. Additionally, we swapped out the brake fluid for Multool RBF 660. This is a higher temp brake fluid. It's going to make sure that when we're going to the limits of the braking on this car, that we're not boiling the fluid and losing brake pressure. So that's one thing we did as well. And while we're talking about braking, we changed out the brake pads for a track dedicated pad. Now this is a situation where if you're going to put a specific track pad on your car, you only want to be putting those on, using it at the track, not even really driving it to the track or driving around a lot because you can wear out your rotors. But when you're on the track, a track specific pad that's meant to operate at higher temperatures is very helpful. So we took the recommendation from Limit Plus One. They were running these, and excuse me if I butcher the name, Pagid, P-A-G-I-D, they're from Germany. These pads were on a Limit Plus One car we were testing, and I was very impressed with them, so we went ahead and got a set for our car to try out. So we're gonna see how these do. Specifically, they're the RST3, which is the track-focused, track-dedicated pad. So we've got front and rears on the car to help with the braking. As far as suspension goes on this car, it's pretty basic right now. Fortune Auto is gonna be building us some two-way coilovers. We're very excited to try those out, but it's gonna take a little while to get those. In the meantime, when we picked this car up, it already had some prototype Swift springs on there. So they're on the car, we've been driving it around, and honestly, the ride quality, the height, and the feel is really solid. I think for a lot of people that might be plenty. You might really enjoy that as kind of a compromise before you jump to coilovers. For track-specific use, we certainly want to have a good two-way coilover on here. We ordered front and rear Cusco sway bars and the end links for this car, but we only got the front bars so far. Once we get both those bars, we'll put those on. In the meantime, we did put the end links on, so we've got front end links and rear end links from Cusco that have gone on there just to kind of help stiffen up the connection between the sway bar and the chassis. Just driving it around subjectively, it does feel a little bit stiffer, feels a little bit better, so we've got those on the car. Other than that, we did put some Cusco front and rear tow hooks on the car. We installed them ahead of time for the scene points, but on the track, these are useful. You don't have to worry about putting in your factory tow hooks. If you do get off the track or you have some kind of a problem and have to get towed in, it is good to have some tow hooks on the track, so we've got those on the car. As far as wheels and tires go, we're running some Advan 18x9s on here with Falken RT660 tires. These tires are the club spec tire for Club TR. We're on a 255 width, which is the maximum allowed. They fit nice on these wheels, and then as far as the fitment goes, these are a plus 35 offset wheel, and we've got the factory 10 millimeter spacer in here, plus H&R 20 millimeter spacer added to the rear, and an H&R 20 millimeter spacer added to the front as well. The wheel fitment, in my opinion, is very good. There's no rubbing. I think they sit very nice, so we're happy with that, and we're gonna stick with that for now. You can see we also have the Cusco tow hook in the rear, already mounted on, cut a hole in the little beauty cover there so it can just be on all the time since this is a track car. And then we have the MBRP exhaust you guys saw in the first video and kind of got to hear. That fits really nice, looks really good, and should sound great at the track. While we were putting the cap back on the car, we took the opportunity to try to deal with some of the issues that can happen with the rear transfer case, I'm going to call it, where the clutches are that clutch together and send the power to the rear differential. That's known to get hot and go into limp mode when you're on the track. And one of the theories is that the exhaust pipe running close to it is putting too much heat into it, perhaps into the case itself, heating up the fluid, or potentially just having some radiant heat get up to the sensor and giving it a false reading. So we did a few things while we were in there. We used some metal exhaust wrap and wrapped that around the pipe first, right underneath where the sensor and the transfer case are. Then we used a DEI fiberglass exhaust wrap that basically works with some worm clamps, and we put that over the top and tighten that down. Finally, we took a piece of fire sleeve and wrapped that around the sensor itself. Just, again, trying to do everything we can to make sure that as little heat as possible is transferred into that unit, and we can avoid going into front-wheel drive because nobody wants that when you're on the track. And last, but certainly not least, the final thing we've done on this car to get it ready is the tuning. Currently, we're doing an E50 blend of ethanol, as I mentioned in our other video. That's working really well, providing really good knock resistance, letting us run some extra boost, letting us beat on this car in this really hot weather we have right now without having any issues. So we're very happy with that blend. I'm not running maximum boost that we can get out of this right now. I've set it up more as a track tune. Same thing goes for the fueling, the ignition timing. This car wouldn't run its best quarter mile right now, but it's gonna have a lot of extra power compared to stock, but still be very safe for the track. And that's the whole point of this tune. So we're gonna be really putting this tune to the test at Mid-Ohio. We're gonna be taking lots of data, analyzing all the logs, making adjustments, and really testing all of our protection strategies we put into this tune right now. We're really excited to see how this car feels on the track in terms of power and mile per hour compared to stock. In stock form, they're pretty good, but as you turn lap after lap, the power definitely falls off pretty aggressively. Now, part of that is just to protect itself on regular pump gas fuel. We can push a little farther with ethanol in there. And part of it's because the factory components simply don't allow it to go very far before the temperatures get too far and it has to start pulling back the power. So with the upgrades we've done, with the extra tuning, I expect to be able to push this thing quite a bit harder and have quite a bit more mile an hour down the straightaways, which is going to be necessary, again, to compete in this class. All right, so that's everything we've done for track prep on the car to get ready for Mid-Ohio next weekend. We're going to go ahead and get the car in the trailer, load it up, head to Chicago, got some tuning to do out there, got a few of these cars to tune while we're there, and then next weekend we'll be at Mid-Ohio. If you guys have questions about the track prep or anything we've discussed today, ask it in the comments and we'll do our best to answer you. If you guys like the content, like the video, make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.